because I think right now, well, there's a lot of misinformation being spread by professional entertainers. I have a real growing problem with YouTubers, especially YouTubers that are making money off of this. If this is their entire job, it becomes a huge incentive to feed their audience what their audience wants to hear. So they feed them bullshit like the whole anti-AI stuff and whatever narrative that they think is going to be popular with the widest group of people. And then you get just echo chambers coming from people with no life experience whose entire life has just been talking into a camera in their bedroom. And it's like, hey, you got to do more in life though, right? Before you start talking, they don't know anything about anything, and they're telling other kids what to think, and it's just a loop of disaster, and they do it in the most sensationalist way about every issue, and it's destroying the internet. It's not just destroying the internet, it's destroying society, and we're at the point where all of this, like JD Vance, he's a talking head that started on the internet just talking. He's never done anything in life. He's never achieved anything, no businesses, no nothing. He just started talking and I guess got popular for saying bullshit on the internet and feeding into people's ideas of what they think how things work. And it's a feedback loop, which is literally destroying society. We've entered idiocracy where you just have to be popular and be a Chad, be like Joe Rogan or something, and get a following, and then suddenly you can manipulate people with whatever crazy thing you're thinking that day. It's crazy. You're 20. I know not many things quite yet. Yeah, when I was 20, I didn't know shit either. Like, I thought I did, but, after you see the same game being played over and over and over again for, like, decades, then you start going, "Oh, wait, it's this again, isn't it?" Kinda like you always have, young people getting super excited about Democrats. I'm seeing this lately with some TikToker that debates people about, like, positions between Trump and Democrats, and he's super on board the Democrats are great train, and that happened many times. Every 20-year-old goes through that phase where, like, "Actually, Democrats are pretty good. Democrats are the solution. This is the good side to the equation." And then a couple of more decades go past where you watch as Democrats fuck it up over and over and over again as they work with Republicans to effectively get very conservative policies and movement in the country over and over and over again. And then you start going, wait a second, maybe they're not being honest. What if they're saying is not actually what they think? Would a Republican or Democrat lying about something? But once you get older, you're like, you get more jaded, you get more wise. How old am I? I am 42. I'm almost 43, actually. I'm old. Hopefully, I don't get wrinkles though. That's why, that's why I talk about aging a lot. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna get gray like other people my age. I'm like, yush. And I'm also done. Like I don't need money from you two. I don't need to tell people what they want to hear. I tell people what they need to hear. That's my thing. Why are you so hip then? I'm so hip because I work on like Roblox and stuff. And I'm also an otaku and I'm also like an internet person. I'm like all around youth culture. I'm not old like other people my age because I hang around, I guess, young stuff a lot. Because they get so excited and so on moral high grounds about the randomest shit and usually it's memes, and usually it's just to troll people, and they don't understand what they're doing because 'cause they're children. And that actually brings me into the whole Australian ban lately. The Australian banned young people from social media. Now, at first blush, I'm like, "Okay, is that bad?" As an American, I wanna say, "Ooh, freedom of speech, freedom," and I wanna condemn it. But then, I know how bad social media is for kids, like mental health. Not only for mental health, but also for what kids are doing online. They're being kids online, and with that often comes misbehaving. So they do stuff like review bombing small businesses and trying to cancel people because they got upset that they used the wrong word on a tweet or the most random stuff. So kids, I think, are actually causing a lot of harm and they think they're being funny about it. I've been a victim of this myself, kids coming after me professionally. And so I think kids, yeah, they shouldn't have social media accounts. I'm with Australia about this. I'm like, keep kids not only, so I'm even further. keep kids off the internet. I think right now, because YouTubers are appealing to children, they have to be super sensational about things. Everything has to be very simple, black and white, moral high ground. It's just turning the entire internet into a daycare. And because you do that, you have kids mixing with adults. You have kids talking to adults, but adults reacting to that as if they're talking to another adult. So you have them throwing shit around on Twitter or Facebook or whatever they decide to play around in that day. And then you have adults like with careers and lives and who've done things and earned their position dealing with some random person just yelling the most ridiculous nonsense at them because they are a young kid expressing themselves online where they don't belong. In real life, that can't happen. You have a 14-year-old come up to me and start telling me something, I'm going to go, child, you're 14-year-old. Go, where are your parents? Let's take care of this. You're in trouble now. You're in trouble because I'm an adult and bad, bad. But online, they can do whatever they want. And not only that, you also have kids getting a great deal of power online, like legitimate power. They're wielding huge audiences to go after small businesses. I'm a small business, and I had a kid who had a large audience send his audience after me, harass the company that I'm working for, and got me fired. Eventually, I got it all sorted out because it's kids being kids. There's nothing real there, but no, this is dangerous what's happening, and it's causing a lot of harm across all of society. And then they make things worse. Kids, again, they're being kids. Of course, they're going to be silly. They're going to be doing irresponsible stuff. But then they elevate really bad things for the laughs. They think it's just funny to piss people off and to be edgy and to do all this other stuff that's having real consequences in our broader society, our politics, our our everything. And yeah, so I'm further than Australia. I'm like, no, kids need to be offline. Yeah, it's going to hurt business. It's going to hurt gaming. I don't know how you square that knot with like giving them access to games because I don't think they should be kicked off of gaming altogether. But something has to be done. The mental health effects, the damage to society, that or segment it. Give kids their own internet where they kind of buffered from like the adult world or or something. Because right now it's bad on all fronts. I don't think America is ever going to do what Australia did. So Americans look at it and like, oh well, Australia is really nanny state and really bad and all this other stuff. And then you have to look what they did with guns. They went and banned guns because, it was killing kids, and they have no gun deaths anymore. Meanwhile, America has all the freedom in the world and shootings daily. So there's real harm in all this stuff, and societies need to take control of it and stop it. I just don't think America cares. America would never do it because there's too much money to be made from kids. That's the downside and why businesses would never want this to happen. Like Facebook, having kids on YouTube, Facebook, and all these social media platforms, kids have a lot of extra free time. And that means eyeballs. Eyeballs for advertisers. They're basically the richest people, the richest demographic online in terms of their attention. Oh, yeah, I heard about that. Digital ID. I don't think the digital ID really works. I think kids are going to spoof that in 2 seconds. They're going to hold up a picture of somebody else and go, I'm an adult, or get their parents' permission. I think actually combating the issue, you have to do some really, really extreme stuff because how are you going to get kids off from using their parents' account? That's what we did when I was younger. They would do, this is an adult only thing. I'd be like, all right, mom and dad, give me your credit card. I'll sign up. And then I'm just you on the internet. But it's a really hard problem to solve, but just letting continue as it is pretty bad. The alternative is I see us using AI as kind of like an ever-present nanny for kids. That's not great either. That's kinda dystopian a little bit, but at the same time, kids should probably behave and adults should probably be trying to make sure they behave because right now they don't. Well, some of them don't, and it causes a lot of issues. I've been groomed by hate groups from a very young age. Yeah, you see? That's the other problem right now. Young boys are getting super right wing. Super right wing. They get all I don't know why they look up to like the Andrew Tates and or that new guy Fuentes, but they're getting groomed for all this extremist, right-wing, misogynistic, messed up conservative stuff from a super young age. And that's a trend that we're having in America right now. And then they're getting a little bit older, trying to date. And women, on the other hand, are way more liberal. So you're having a huge mismatch there where women don't want anything to do with young boys because they're like low key Nazis. And it's like, oh, wait, that's kind of what the heck's going on here? Bad for the birth rate, if anything. I'm talking neo Nazis who work with state senators and were actual active terrorists. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I can definitely see why we should keep kids off the internet. But that's a parenting issue, not a let's make every action tracked on the internet and barred by a facial scan and ID check issue. Parents need to know what they need to monitor children's internet usage. Yeah, you can say that. And people have been saying that for the last, 50 years, probably 40 years when the internet started to get more popularized. But at the end of the day, what's happening? Are parents taking that responsibility on? And if they aren't, we have to do something. Society has to do something. At a certain point, you have to go, okay, yeah, you can say personal freedom, personal responsibility, family responsibility, all you want. But at a certain point, you gotta go, okay, it's not happening. It's not happening, so we gotta try something else. And I think that's what Australia's doing. Again, it's what they did with the guns, and they don't have shootings like we do. So I don't think they're wrong necessarily. I don't think it's like if I were a kid, I wouldn't want to get kicked off social media either, but it's not that bad. Not that bad. I grew up kind of before the whole internet thing took off. Like I was online in high school playing MMOs, but we didn't have all the social media websites and stuff like this. So it was super limited to what you were actually reading online from other people. It was way more limited than now. Now kids are having the other thing you're having are kids, they do something stupid as a kid, right? And then they're filmed, and that's thrown up online, them being a awkward, embarrassing kid, and they're bullied, and it just lives online for the rest of their lives. That's crazy. I was an awkward kid too. If kids in my high school were bullying me like that online, like just ridicule on a massive scale to thousands and tens of thousands of strangers, even millions, and then people are surprised why we have so many shootings. It's no mystery. This doesn't belong in the public sphere. It belongs at a micro scale, small communities, kids just being kids with other kids. It doesn't need to be everything on the national stage in front of the entire world, not just global stage. They throw it up on YouTube, seen by some random person in Germany, some kid getting made fun of because he was awkward in school. America is actually pushing for digital ID too. Yeah, America's pushing for it for different reasons, though. America just wants to track everybody. They don't actually care about keeping kids safe or anything. They just want to make sure that they can attach you to your government tracking data. That's all it is. There's reasons to want IDs for actually doing something with it, and then there's, like, the gesture of ID, kinda like what they're doing with ChatGPT, where they like, we need your ID to prove you're an adult." Again, people are just gonna use their parents. That's not really a barrier, but it does link you with your family and what's going on in that household. So if they ever wanna track down what's going on there, they have all your data. You've linked it. And it would be a shame because kids also bring a lot to the internet. I'm not saying it's all bad, that they're all little shits. They do a lot of really funny, like, meme culture. I love meme culture and a lot of funny stuff on TikTok. This is definitely a case of a few bad apples running for everybody. And because they're kids, you can't really hold them accountable in the same way you can adults. Not that we really hold adults accountable either on the internet. Like, you can say whatever you want, and you can like, it's a wild west still, and we gotta clean stuff up because it's getting worse, especially with all the algorithms. It's so sophisticated now. So sophisticated, not just in algorithms, but also in, like, entertainers and the money side of everything. Back when I was doing the internet, it was all just kind of people having fun. People having fun, nobody had dollar signs in their eyes. I guess, like, marketers putting up pop-up ads everywhere, they had dollar signs in their eyes, but people just posting or making content, nobody was making anything off of it, so they were just having fun. And with that, you got more authentic content and more content without agendas. Now everything is being made by professionals. people who understand the game, who are trying to play the algorithms and trying to grow towards career paths, putting real money into it, getting good filming equipment and really sophisticated ways to push different narratives for different reasons. Not all just because they want to make money, but because they're getting paid to push all this stuff. And it's dangerous. Dangerous. And we're seeing it. People split into all sorts of propaganda echo chambers, a lot of them. And then you have the influencers that are telling people what they wanna hear because they know that they're gonna make money if they tell people what they wanna hear. And so even people that aren't making money, now we've split the internet into, like, these little platforms that are run by moderators everywhere, that are kind of the nannies everywhere. And if your opinions deviate too much from what's popular, like if you went on Reddit and started saying stuff that was pro-Palest or pro-Israel, you'd get banned from a lot of places. They'd just be like, "You're gone. Out." So, we're seeing feedback loops on top of feedback loops. People with paid reasons to push propaganda, being paid by somebody else, and then people who wanna be popular telling people what they wanna hear because they make more money that way. And then people who want are just trying to go along with the crowd because they don't wanna get banned and ostracized from their communities. So you see, like, loop after loop after loop until everybody's either camp A or camp B, and it's getting more divided and more crazy and more extreme. And you're seeing that with youth culture, like, again, the Nick Fuentes thing is wild. Nick Fuentes is going full on, like, unashamed, full-throated racism, full-throated misogyny, full-throated just going, "Yeah, women shouldn't be able to vote. Full stop. Get them out of the vote." It's like the most extreme stuff. Extreme even for a boomer extreme. And it's popular and connecting with young people going, "Yes." So a lot of that, at least my view of it, because I watched an interview that he did, and I think that he just likes the attention. I think young people like it because he's definitely trolling. He's definitely trolling everybody. He's trying to get the biggest rise out of people. The biggest smile that you'll see is when people react to the bullshit that he says. And then he just changes it on a dime. And I think that's why people love watching it because it's entertaining. I don't, it's just how it is. But that's not healthy either. So he's doing it for money, he's doing it for attention, and people are giving it to him, and that's the dark side of the internet that is kind of more new. You didn't have that back in my day. You didn't have these type of people just saying the most outrageous stuff because they knew it would make them rich, basically. He's gonna make millions and millions of dollars if he hasn't already. Like, the economies of this stuff are insane. You become a popular YouTuber with a few million followers, and you're a millionaire. By that point, you're cranking them out, you're making millions of dollars. I was the quiet kid too. People actually thought I was gonna shoot the school up for some reason. Yeah, yeah, me too. Me too. That's just how it is. People don't understand the quiet kids. And then I grew out of it because everybody grows out of it. Well, normally people grow out of it. It's just going through different phases. Actually, in high school or college, they called me Hollywood. 'Cause, again, I was still young, uh, growing into myself. I wore sunglasses all the time, indoors, and I was one of those kids. And eventually, I took them off, and then I moved to Hollywood, and I lived there for like 10 years, doing all sorts of art stuff and Hollywood stuff, which was fun. And then in Hollywood, they called me Kansas because I was from Kansas. So in Kansas, they called me Hollywood, and in Hollywood, they called me Kansas. Crazy how that worked out.